I'll warn everybody ahead of time, I'm not a big talker. So if you got questions, please ask. I'll come up with some kind of answer if I know it. We'll be turning I'll try to turn a hat. This was some green, fresh cut pecan. I think the tree was probably Wednesday. I got it Thursday. I had a bunch of wood for this, but it's spalted pretty bad, so it wasn't going to work. So I got on Facebook, put out a little. If somebody had some hardwood, first guy to call had a pecan, so I went and got it, and it cut pretty good. I turned one. Let's see, where's this is one I turned Thursday. It had a knot in the back of it, but on wet wood, normally you can turn right through a knot. It's a little difficult, but I'll pass this around. This is how they're bent. You put pressure on it with the bolt going through it and rubber band, and just let time, and it'll bend to that shape.
How long does it stay in that mold? How long does it stay there?
I'm gonna say a day, maybe two. That's just one partially done. You can see it's already splitting.
Sir, I don't know how this thing's supposed to work, but anyhow, could you not steam that? The rounds to make it bend a little bit easier and better and quicker or whatever?
It's so wet. I wish I could remember exactly how that is. There's two types of water: free water in the wood, and water. I think the water is down in the cells.
Okay.
And if you'll get it for a fresh cut tree, whether it's wet, good and wet like that, you don't need to be steaming. I don't know if steam will bend it or not.
Steam will bend wood.
And I didn't know about. I had tried it on there. What I'd like to do, you mentioned that, was not with steam but with heat. You see a lot of these cowboy hats, they've got an indention up here, and they say you can't do it, but I'd like to try it. After turn one, and before it gets too dry, have some pipes that could clamp on here and had heat, and heat source up in it. And of course, you have to do the top a little bit differently. I'll go ahead and pass this around. This is one I made out of poplar. No, this was gum, but it just about got through with it and made a oops. And you can see the oops up at the top. And so instead of, I just laid it to the side and let it sit, but more I looked at it, I said, I know I'm not going to throw it away. So I enhanced it, made it look, tried to make it look weather worn. And instead of trying to hide the stuff, try to enhance it. Yeah, it worked out good.
What wood?
I think it was gum, but most any hardwood will work. Gonna have to be fresh cut. And one thing about fresh cut, if any of y'all have turned green wood, is just so much easier. You don't have to worry with dust or anything. Sawdust, yeah, and water. I don't know if you can see my smock. My wife washed it. She said, why don't you get a new one? You turn one or two hats, it's going to be right back. All the water and everything coming out of these things, sometimes when you get them real wet, you can wet the ceiling, floor, face shield. I keep some paper towels, sometimes just for wiping off the face shield. Let's see. I'm going to pass this one around. I got it taped in. Just don't let the flashlight fall out. It's a when we get the hat turned most of the way, we'll turn it around and remount it like this. And the wet wood, the light will come through it, and you can tell about how thick you are. So we'll turn it around and we'll finish off the top, assuming we got enough time.
This is probably a stupid question, but is this just for the small hats or the?
Yeah, just for the small ones. The big one's very similar to that. I just didn't bring it.
Steve, if you're gonna do a full-size cowboy hat, how big of a lathe do you need?
Well, the log's somewhere around 20 to 20. Once you get it trimmed down around 20 inches, so you're going to have to at least that, and about at least 3 horsepower. I've got mine's a Powermatic 24-inch. This way, of course, now you can slide it to the end. You can slide this one to the end and turn a big, but I don't think the horse and a half motor big enough to do it. It probably would, but it would be awful slow.
Chris Ramsey used to tow around this one way when he did our demo here.
Yeah, I went and spent 3 days. That's where I learned from Chris.
Great, isn't he?
Oh, he is. Beautiful place up in the mountains. High on top of a mountain. It's wonderful. House, you walk out of this house into the shop. He's got a neat setup. Real nice. Did I pass that one around? That just gives them an idea.
Did you voluntarily cut this, or was it a mistake and you might as well take?
Might as well, it was a boo-boo somewhere down through there, so. And there's another one. This is how not to do the top. See how thick that is?
Yeah.
That's my biggest hold up on those is the tops.
Is that too thin? That's pretty thin, right?
They do it a lot thinner.
Well,
like
right
Chris.
Right there where that V is. Pretty thin.
Hmm. They said that on a full size, they like to push in on the top like an oil can, so they want it flexing. I did a sweet gum a few weeks ago for a guy for a hat. I've got some pictures of it on my iPad there, but I was worried about I was going to cut through. I mean, the wood was getting white on the top when I was finishing it, and lo and behold, it was still ½ inch thick when I got it off. But it worked out. I carved the little girl's initial in the top of it. It was a memorial for a little girl that got killed in a car wreck. So it worked out. Well,
New design.
yeah, that's what I call it. Before we get to turn, I forgot about this. They're heavy, but I'll pass them around anyway. This is the core of a log. I did a mini hat out of, and this one's really too small. But above the pith, above it and below it, is where you can get platter material out of, so you don't waste anything. Not a great drawing, but on a full-size hat, about a 25-inch diameter log, you're cutting 3 inches out of the middle. That's what that would be, 3 inches thick on a full-size log. And right here you get quarter sawn platter material and very little, if any, warping. On both, you get two good ones there. On this one, you can tell you it had to be a real thin platter. On it, this is about a 10 to 12 inch log. And if, I'll pass this around, y'all can tell a little more about it. But where I've got it kind of spotted, that's what we're trimming off with the chainsaw. Here you'll see it also. Chainsaw just speeds up the process. That and the bandsaw, which what I've done with this one, I went ahead and roughed it in so it'd save a little time this morning. This one here, just ignore it. That's a oops, I reckon you call it. What I'm gonna start roughing with is I just using the Ellsworth. I've got some other tools. It's just a 5/8 inch Ellsworth gouge. I roughed this in Thursday. What I'm gonna do is I've got it remounted. I'm just gonna true this up. Not worry about this. I'm gonna true this up because when we get ready to turn it around, hollow the inside out, I just need to make sure this will hold in the little one-way chuck. I've got it at, let's see, I've got it about 650. See how that is. I've already got this one set. I'll just use, did that light miss the camera up? And we can do without it for a little while. Just touching the left side, it'll make a little mark on there. What I'm better do is go ahead and mark it. Get a little marks a lot out here so y'all can see it. This top, from the bottom of the brim to the top of the hat, you can make it whatever you want to visually. It's usually about 2 1/4 inches. But you can make it a little taller if you want to, or a little shorter, just what you want. From the bottom of the brim to the bottom of the hat itself, 5/8 to 3/4. That's again just whichever look you like on that one. On this one, I didn't turn the edge of the brim up, and a lot of the ones I do now, I like to turn the edge up a little bit more. It's just a look thing. In this shape, if you'll notice pictures of cowboy hats, they're all different. Every one I've tried to get, I get on Pinterest and try to look up something. And all these people that make them, Chris Ramsey, Johannes Mickelson, and which I got to meet him at, I just called him one day. We happened to be in Vermont and we discovered we were right down the road from where he lived. So I called him. Said, come on by. So I came on by while he was working on his house, and he took time to show us around his house and his shop. It was very nice. And, look at his hats and stuff that he had turned before. Let's see. That's where we're heading with this block of wood here. And we may have, I've already cut some to get away from the pith, but we may have some more to turn away.
You got a blemish on this side.
Yep, we'll just see where we end up. This is where the jaw is. This is, I call it a little play area. We'll have above the top of the hat 2 1/4. Let's say we'll do 2 1/2, and then 3/4, and we should get rid of that if it runs the right way. We'll see. And then I've got put this one up, won't need it anymore. This one's set up for the outside diameter of the hat at the brim, 3 1/8 inches. Why you ask 3 1/8 inches? Let's see where it didn't, there it is. So it'll fit on here properly. But you can make it bigger, smaller, according to how big I have made the big hats or the small hats, and they'd be too big for this, or too one way or the other. And I always keep a little extra rubber in there for padding. We'll set the size and the diameter out here and work down toward the brim so we don't get too small on that. Tools, like I said, I got the Ellsworth roughing gouge or bowl gouge. I got 2 of Johannes Mickelson's. I used to use a Thompson tool and round end, and I still got it. I think I brought it with me. But this y'all get a chance to look, well, I go ahead and pass this small one around. It looks just like the big one. But that end, that design he come up with, he's not the only one, there's others probably. But that saved me a lot of time. And got a smooth cut.
Is that blind done on a Wolverine or?
No, it's done on Hans tools. If y'all want to come around and look at this, this is it. It's got a special holder for it, and I've got another thing here that's set. You set the depth of it, and which I'll have to sharpen during the turning. Does both sides, does the end, and it does your secondary bevel also.
That's the Ellsworth.
Now this one is Hans, Johannes Nicholson.
Oh, okay.
That's his. Now this one would be Ellsworth.
Yeah,
Looks very similar, but they're a little different.
but you can't use that Ellsworth for the small Ellsworth.
I don't know. I
I
just got the 5/8 and the 1/2 inch.
really check my butt with the smaller tool and wouldn't fit in.
I'm just marking this so it'll show up a little better. This part right here, if you can't see that, this part right in here, I'm gonna leave that. That's where jaws will meet up to. And I'm gonna leave a space right about here. That'll be where the top of the hat is.
Hey Steve,
Yeah.
change those belts again, I forgot to check.
No, I didn't. I didn't even think about that. Same trouble we had last time.
Yeah, and I forgot. It gets pretty aggressive, and this is set on a high-speed belt instead of a low. So it kind of tends to stall it out, so we take care of that real quick.
That's a good thing about a bigger motor on, if you can get one on your lathe.
There you go.
All right. That is gonna be the bottom of the brim. That's where I got marked at 3/4 inch. That'll be the actual bottom of the brim. This there will be the top of the hat. Most of all this other is waste wood. I always leave this 3/4 and I go straight in. Just use it as a guide. Now, if somebody wants to come up before I get too far down in there. Anybody want to try it? It's, oh, come on. What I like to do is practice as I go. Some people like to get in, hog it out, get through with it. Moving the hips.
Said that was the top of the brim, or the bottom of the brim? Isn't it the top?
The hat band, I should have said. This right here, where,
Yeah,
that's the bottom of the hat band.
the top of the brim.
Yeah. Like I said, I like to practice as I go. Because like I said, I don't turn hats every day. I don't turn every day necessarily. It just gets you practice. If you go hogging all this wood out and get in a hurry, to me, you're losing an opportunity to practice. I like to practice on stuff like this. And I'll even, like I'm doing right now, I stop and look at it. Not admiring my work, but looking at the wood. And pecan, once you get it finished, is a real pretty wood. Tell you what, well, since we're gonna have to cut so much off the bottom, a little more than I planned on. just, once I get in, I'm just, what I'm doing now is gonna be just smoothing up, straightening up rather, and smoothing up this bottom. This probably inch, last inch out here. I'll try to, that's gonna be a finished cut when I get through with it. But one thing, I always forget to do things, and I have forgot. One thing, to mark the outside diameter, because I'm probably way too big, that's 7.5. Yep. I need to take about 3/8 of an inch off.
You may have said it right in here, how's that mounted on headstock?
Oh, got a screw eye, a screw.
Worm screw?
The glazier's is a glazier, but it could, you could use your chuck with the screw in it. You could done it that way. You could also, I've got one somewhere, you could have used a small faceplate and put screws. If you put screws though, you gotta make sure you did like I did on this one, leave a lot of waste. So the screws don't get into your brim.
Thank you.
Speaking of that, it's that little screw we were talking about that helps hold this on. If you'll see in the bottom of this baseball cap, that's where the screw. That's another one of those oopses, but worked out right. I just turned a walnut, but it was already in the center of the cap. Did I pass that around yet?
New design opportunity.
Yep.
It fits. How about your what?
That's mine. I got a big head.
No price.
That's close enough. It's one thing about mini hats, it's not an exact science, as we say. I'm gonna go back to this tool here. I hadn't used it yet. What I'm fixing to do is round up. Let's see. Shows better on this big hat. See where it's got a little round on the bottom? That's what we're fixing to put there. And this last inch and that turn up, once you do that, you're, without sanding, you're through at that spot. Because I remember when Chris was showing me that, and he was doing this and rounding it, and he was telling me things, but I had never seen it before. I didn't know where he was going. But once I saw the hat made, I knew where he was going. And that's another thing. On the big hats, this spot right in here is waste wood. And I didn't bring one with me, but there's about a 2.5 to 3 inch by 3 inch round. Most people use it to make a mirror out of it. You can put a glass in the back of it, and Chris showed me how he turned his and decorated it and made it look nice. I didn't need any mirrors, so I'd take clay sculpting from Ben Watts, and I did my granddaughter and my grandson, and I put the sculpture is the face only. It's not the whole body, just the face, and I put that in that circle frame. To me it looks real good. I don't know if I got any pictures of that or not. I started to bring one of them, but my wife wouldn't let me do that. She knows I'd mess something up. I'm gonna go in about 1/2 inch and pull back to me, just riding. I'm actually just riding a bevel. That's what I like about these particular tools. Yeah, got a little bad spot there, but we can deal with that.
The same bad spot that was on there, and then when
Probably was it, yeah.
reduce the diameter,
Mhm.
followed it.
Well, if anytime during this, if one of y'all wanna come up here, feel free to. Better get that in the back. Well, I'm gonna start removing all this wood, going down to the top of the brim, bottom of the hat band. This one, you notice, and I've had to get into that habit. I used to bad about doing it with my arms. Most of you woodturners will tell you get it up against your hip, and it does work better. Shifting my weight on my feet.
We usually use a mask when you're turning.
Not this wet wood. Now, when I'm doing the dry wood, I've got come from Wood Turning Wonders. It's a mass. It's not one of those 95s. It's 99 something percent of the dust out.
Chris always used
Yeah,
the mask when he
it works.
sanded
Yeah, I'm not going to be sanding these. lost my marks. I'm gonna remark it a little bit. Let's see, where's my rule? There we go. I'm one of those type people that lay tools, whatever, pencils, I lay it around everywhere. So when I go to do something, I have to go find where I laid it at. 2.5, right about there. This is just a parting tool. I'm gonna go down in here a good bit. That should be the top of the hat. Now the diameter, we're still playing with that. Yeah, right there, you can see that mark. That's how wide the base is going to be. And that allows me to be able to sneak up on it. I'll go ahead and tell this part of it while I'm.
Steve, you might have addressed it. If you did, I missed it. Is there a formula for proportions of rim to upper part of the hat?
If it is, I don't know what it is.
So you just kind of eyeball it, what looks good to your
Yeah,
eye?
on these mini hats, they're normally 2 1/4 from the bottom of the brim to here. You can make them 2 1/2. You can even make them 3 inches. Some of those tall cowboy hats. This is half. I should go over that. I'll go back when I get through. I'll go over that. How we come up. This is basically roughly half size of a full size hat. This is from the outside of here to the outside of the brim is approximately 2 inches. Full size cowboy hat like this, brim's normally about 4 inches from the rim out on that. The one I've got hid over here, the Outback hat, totally different style, it's only 3 inches from the brim out to the edge. The part I was fixing I can do it on this big hat. I messed a couple up before. I didn't bring them with me, but when you squeeze the hat, whether it be the small one or the large one, when you clamp it in, you've got a width that you know because you've measured somebody's head. I'll show you how we'll do that. Let's say this is 6 inches from here to here. Once it's in the clamp, press gets to the right size. That tells you right away that this top up here has got to be narrower than this once it's bent. But when you're turning it, it may be 7 inches around it. And they say, well, I just come back to say 6 inches, I'll be fine here. Well, that sounds good, But once you get it this shrunk, that makes that whole side just as straight, makes a box. I don't know if that made sense the way I explained it, but anyway, but on these small hats, I usually just visually do it. It's usually about 1 3/4, maybe 2 inches.
So if it was 7 inches wide at the band,
Mm-hmm.
how far would you go down on the top to make sure you don't get
Okay, let's say once we clamp the hat, it's going to, let's say we're going to 6 inches. We'd want to make that top 5 to 5 1/4, because I like a lot of shape. Me personally. Now, there's different style hats, but I love that. See a wooden hat that's got a lot of curve in it. To me, it just sets it off. That and the brim rolled up, which is, I plan on doing that on this one. I hadn't got down to the diameter yet, but let's see. Let me just use this one to get a little faster.
So that burnish mark is where you're gonna start your cut.
Not necessarily, but basically, yeah. Anywhere to the right of that and come back, because I'm gonna taper it, and I'm gonna just sneaking up, basically. Sneaking up to that size once I get down here. Because if you go too far, you can't add it back on. Before. They're getting close. Now this one I like to go ahead and ride the bevel on it.
You're turning uphill, is there any issue with that?
No, it's just easier for me. The last time I turned one, I did it all backwards from this side back. To me, with these, and I'm right-handed, it just makes it easier. But they seem to cut. I mean, it gives a good. Now, pecan's not as smooth as some of the others, but it does a pretty good job. Yeah, we almost. That's another thing. This band, I'm gonna exaggerate. I like to have it leaning. Well, from the hat, it'd be like this. I don't like it just straight out. It doesn't look right. thing. Oh well, I'll deal with it. My tool's riding on that microphone. That's close. We'll make one more pass. Ought to get it.
That 80 grit will just take it right down.
I hear you. That used to be my buddy, 80 grit. Some of this out of the way. Now, the hat band, you can make it as normal hats, somewhere around 7/8 of an inch to maybe to 1 inch. There again, it's just a look thing. That's around 3/8, 7/16, somewhere in that neighborhood. That'll give me something to shoot for. I don't like that shape, so let me. Still don't. This, I did rounding this corner off a little bit. We'll see if I can get rid of a little of that. Got rid of most of it. I'll go back and fix this round corner. Now what I'm fixing to do is hog all this wood here out from. That's close. We'll make one more pass. Ought to get it.
That 80 grit will just take it right down.
I hear you. That used to be my buddy, 80 grit. Some of this out of the way. Now, the hat band, you can make it as normal hats, somewhere around 7/8 of an inch to maybe to 1 inch. There again, it's just a look thing. That's around 3/8, 7/16, somewhere in that neighborhood. That'll give me something to shoot for. I don't like that shape, so let me. Still don't. This, I did a round in this corner off a little bit. We'll see if I can get rid of a little of that. Got rid of most of it. I'll go back and fix this round corner. Now what I'm fixing to do is hog all this wood here out. From the other one I was doing, the tool was out and you were turning right using just the edge of your tool, the very end of the tool. And it was harder to keep it going straight.
Steve, is the rim the same thickness all the way through, or is it a gradient from the edge?
It'll be this thicker on the end, and it should be the same going up. Now where this hat band, it'll go back thick. It'll be 1/8 of an inch at the hat band, but thinner all the way up. Try to make one more pass on that. There's a little line right there. I don't know if y'all can see it. That's what I'm gonna try to.
That ain't better.
Yeah, that'll probably help when I'm fixing to.
That's that line that you were talking about that would cause it to bend abruptly.
That's one of them. If you lose your cut, you just get back. What I do, I get back behind where I was cutting and then pick it up again. I'm just rotating my hips around right there. I'm going to try to trim off that little fuzz there at the bottom of the hat band. Yeah, I mean, it's not sandy, but it's pretty smooth. But that's what I like about his tools. Now, there's others, but I'm sold on those.
So that's just a Thompson handle and another,
Yeah, Thompson actually makes this for Hans.
oh, okay.
How much does that run this year?
Yeah, I couldn't remember. It'll be under Hans Tools, Hannes.
Is it a V-gouge or a liquid?
I don't know what he calls it. Looks like more of a V. But I think it's between a V, like a halfway between the two. Most all of them at this point turning around and haul it out. I like to go ahead and put the color on the brim, the hat band. I just saw I messed up, so let me. Get rid of a little of this fuzz. Got it just about 900 RPMs. Y'all know this little trick? Ebony and Paducah. And you can do it whichever way you want. I try to do a.
Hey, Carol, can you put the other view on so I can see the,
You wait a minute.
there you go. Maybe
All
light
right.
off a minute, Steve? Good. Hey, Steve,
Yeah.
turn your light off for just a second while you-
Oh, excuse me.
There we go.
There we go. All right.
Yeah.
I burned this spot and here. I went over my black a little bit there. It just usually, it's a haphazard pattern around it. A lot of times, on the bigger ones especially, you miss a spot, whether I'm doing something wrong. And I've got these, which one is this one? Number 847. You can recolor it. I think I grabbed the wrong one. That one looks red. Ah, there it is. That looks more like it. And it's actually darker, but what I do, I put it on and rub it off. You can make, like these dark spots, you can make, you want to put one here, you always get it and rub it out a little bit.
What kind of gold is that?
Let's see, will that get it? Color number on this one is 899.
What brand are they?
Tomboy, ABT.
I think they have those at Michael's.
It's either Michael's or Hobby Lobby I got them at, and they've got different colors. And then this is a Micron number 5 or .005. And I use it because just about every time I'll miss a spot on this black and I'll go back, finish it out. Because on this hat band, I don't think most people are looking for perfection anyway. The break time or,
Yeah, you about ready to turn it around?
yeah, I'm thinking to go turn it around.
All right, guys, if you want to bid on anything, now would be the time.
All right, we've turned it around and not much time, so let me get the cutting. I may not do as much explaining what I've been doing, but feel free to come up here and look. It's a lot easier to see up close. I don't know how the camera is. Let's see. I'd like to, is there any way I can shield that light?
No, cut it off is about the only way.
Yeah. Well, for right now, I will.
I can see through it right here.
Get all I'm doing riding on this thing here, but just moving my hips, all I'm doing with it. Move this a little bit closer. Like I was telling some of the guys a while ago, what I'm doing with this tool actually, the old way I would do it with the face turned this way, and you can still do it, but with this tool, I'm actually doing it with the left side and the front as I go in. When I'm over the top of it and cutting, not everywhere on it, but you can see about how far you are or are not from, going through.
Steve, you're doing a bevel lighting cut with that blue fairly old line.
Yep, it's cutting with, let's see, with this, right where my finger is. Not on the side, but on this left corner. And another thing about this too, the wings are swept back so much, just about impossible for them to catch. Not impossible, but just about. up in this area, we'll be getting into some end grain, so the light should come through it even more.
Steve, are you trying for consistent thickness of that band?
Yeah.
Or the brim?
Yeah. I'm gonna say, I'm guessing around a 16th to a 32nd. But this, I'm serious about this tool. It gives, to me, it gives a lot of control.
On that tool, there's a secondary bevel, right?
Yeah.
Now, how do you, and he has his own, jig for sharpening.
Mm-hmm.
Does the jig do both bevels somewhere?
Yeah.
or-
Mm-hmm. Once you do it the first time, there's a hole a little bit further in, and you just, I'm gonna have to sharpen here in a few minutes. Needs to be a little thinner, but for time, we'll go ahead and. That shows that light going through better, that I believe on the camera.
Yeah, it's starting to glow down there.
What about the overhead lights, Steve?
Yeah, it probably would help.
Steve, I have a question.
Yep.
I would assume as thin as you're getting, that's drying pretty fast now.
Yeah.
It'll be drying pretty fast. You still need it wet when you start to bend it. Is there gonna be a re-wetting period?
Yeah, I didn't bring it with me. Spray bottle.
Okay, so you normally would mist it.
Yeah, normally keep it, if it looks like it's getting a little surface dry, spray it, keep it wet. Sammy, do you know about the two types of water, free water and what's the one that's up into cells?
Pound
What kind?
Pound water.
Pound water, what comes out as you're turning,
Yeah.
pound water stays in, that's what you're trying to dry slow.
Mm-hmm. Still need that. They say the thinner these walls get, the wider all that gets. I mean, it looks thin, but it's an eighth of an inch.
That's pretty.
See how a lot brighter it's getting? See where it's dark? Let's see, right about there. That's where that the hat band starts. Up in there. Good.
Steve, you push that light down just a little.
Yeah. I'm gonna just try to core this inside out. We'll go a little deeper and then we'll call it quits.
You need one last cut?
Yeah, one last cut.
Now, who makes the Hans tool you were talking about?
HANNES tools, should be.
Is it, okay,
Hans Tools. He's the only one that sells them I know of.
Okay, I look, they have everything but the tool. Is it? I'm blind.
This is real technical here. I get a pencil and see how deep I am. This is just a small bottom feeder. I'm just gonna finish out that top. That's what's nice about this particular one. I can be cutting and it hits the bottom down there, and that's as far as it's going to go. It doesn't grab on the sides. Yeah, we'll try that. All right, what'd I do with it? There it is.
Somebody want to turn the lights on over there, please?
We past 12 now, or are we?
11:42.
We got a little time. Whoop. That's what you call getting the cart ahead of the horse. I had to leave this on there. I always forget.
Guys, those of you that brought boxes, got to put a ticket by your box, whether you're a raffle for the Supernova Chuck in April. Make sure you put your name and phone number on the back of the side that has that, and tickets will go in this container right here. If I miss someone, let us know, okay? I'm gonna set this over here on the table, so when you put your name on there, drop that cap in there.
Just a little old cheap flashlight.
There's also some sandpaper on the table here. Anybody that wants this, please take it. This was donated by Herbert Johnson right here. And this one right here. To the club, so you're welcome to take that. Steve, you want the lights out, dude?
We can leave them on a few minutes and probably down to when I get onto this actual bottom. Well, well, I'm gonna show you all that sharpening, but I'll show you that in a minute. Running pretty good. What I'm gonna do is turn all this off while I got it between the two tailstock and the headstock. Most of them, when they do the hat band now. Like I said, I like to do it while it's solid. All right, we can turn those lights off. We'll see what we can do here. You'll see it's end grains, the light shows. Side grain, the light doesn't show through as much. Let's see, the inside we're up to right about there. And it'll begin showing. I find it's easier just to stop a little short.
Trying to put a mound in the center of the hat.
Just so this doesn't break off and to tear a plug out of the inside. Whoops.
Good catch.
I reckon I didn't have it up on there tight enough. This is the part I've always worried about.
Now he tells us.
I was not worried about going.
We'll fix it when he gets back here.
There's some sandpaper on that back.
Way back.
It'd be better if it wasn't wobbling, but we'll deal with it. Y'all get the idea.
Sure got quiet in here.
They're holding breath waiting for me to mess up, all the way to the end.
I think most of them have heard that.
Yeah.
It's, it's probably still, honestly, it's too thick on top, but we'll deal with it. Y'all can pass that around.
What's your process for sanding?
Ah, glad you mentioned that. I forgot it.
You need it back a minute or not?
Hmm?
You need it back?
No,
Derek, you get the light source?
I just let it dry. I found it just easy to let it, because when the wood's real wet, it doesn't sand good, clogs it up and all. So I've gotten where I just get it off the tool, let it dry in the clamp, and then sand it with these. These, which I've told some of y'all about this before, it's a regular 5-inch sanding disc. This one's on the extension because I put it on the drill press. But at Hans Tools, there again, he takes these and turns the back of it off, and then makes it so flexible. And when you're sanding, they even did the little ones that way. And when you're sanding, it doesn't dig in as easy. It can dig in, but not as easy.
At this point, you'd go ahead and put that in your
Yep.
press, right?
Yep, I just put it in here and clamp it down with rubber bands.
And does it bend to the maximum right off the bat, or does
Oh, no, it takes about
slowly?
10, I'm gonna say 10 to 12 hours to, I call it settle down. And then after that, you can really start tightening on it. And then that's when you start, next 10 to 12 hours, you really start seeing the bending.
But are you gradually tightening up the rubber bands over this?
Yeah,
period, or is it
over time,
just- Okay.
yeah.
So it's a stage thing over several hours of tightening everything down as it starts to bend.
Yeah, like on a big one, I'll start it on a afternoon, say after dinner, and I'll do it till supper time. And I'll do the top, won't fool with any of the bottom, leave the brim real thick. So it would, and I'll put a plastic bag on it, leave it on the lathe, come back. I can come back in 2 days and it's just like it was, just about it. And then I'll start back, usually I'll do that in the evening, come back the next morning, finish it. Then I put it into clamps. It's a several day process. I could do it all in a day. I think Chris Ramsey does them in about an hour and a half or two. He's fast with it.
But those rubber bands are gonna slowly start bending it over the hours
Yeah.
itself.
Did Chris ever tell you about the demo or the class he went to with Nicholson?
He told me a lot about, but I found I got to be super nice.
Nicholson, yeah, I think he learned his lesson. Nicholson had all his students put 3 rubber bands on the thing. And then he went out, snuck out till he shot and took off 2 of them. And these people went home, put the 3 bands on there, and they all broke. He was figuring out how to keep his edge. He was the only one making it, nobody else. But Randy saw him.
This might have showed it the last time I was here on the demoing, but this is a coring tool. That thing is heavy.
Yeah, that's what Randy was.
Getting it in to, when you flip it around and you're cutting the core out of the top of the hat, this is it. I didn't know how fast the first time, how fast the lathe need to be turning. So I assume faster is better. 500 RPMs, I think it was. I stuck it in there and I'm going along good. And I had a little too aggressive a cut grind on this thing. It took it, bent this, bent it down, hurt my thumb. I don't do over about 200 RPMs now. I don't have any problem with it. And I went to a less aggressive grind on it. And I've got a mark on my side that I see. That tells me when I get down low enough.
Is that what, that's what Ramsey uses to get his mirrors, the mirror frame, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what he does. And well, him and Johannes Nicholson does the same thing.
Yeah. Mickelson invented, I think.
Yeah.
all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when you put the rubber bands on it like this when it gets low, you keep it in a bag until you get it to where you want?
No, it just sits out like that.
Okay. What was the bag? You were talking about the bag.
During the middle of it, and I'm not going to finish it tonight or today. I'm tired, so I just put a bag or I'm doing a bowl.
Yeah, that's.
I do a bowl. Just put a bag over it. It just retards the drying of it just for a day or so.
Those plastic bags.
Steve, when you put it on your bending jig, is there any particular grain orientation you want that in?
Yeah.
Bend those, rims right straight?
Yep. Because this will bend down. Now, I'm glad this would, on a cowboy hat, this would be the center of the tree. On a cowboy hat. On a baseball hat, wherever it got off to.
Up on the shelf there.
It's just the opposite. It didn't make sense until this one's cut, there's the center of the tree. This one will be done this way. This is the center of the tree on the top of the hat because you want the bend to bend this way. On a cowboy hat, you want to pull in the right direction.
So are you tightening these also, that screw there, to kind of give it a little oblong?
Yeah, to get a little oval shape to
Okay.
it.
So, but you said that it's after it's set in here for a little while.
Let it rest for about 10 hours, they call it, in the clamp with a little pressure. Then we add
Okay.
more. You know when you're going too far, it'll go make a popping sound. I left those at the house.
There's a warning sound.
Yeah.
That's
Do you
great.
spritz it with water any during that process, or? is it
No,
already-
just when it's on the lathe.
Wow.
That's fantastic. Wow.
That is a very good demo.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. Very good.
Thank you all.
Are you ready to show something here?
Yeah, I forgot about that. This is what,
Oh, for measuring heads.
yeah, that's what you wrap it around your head. And when you take it off, when you're measuring somebody's head, you don't think about it. take it off, and you turn it over like that, you've messed up. Cause you need to take it, press it, firmly, and keep it like this, and mark front, back when they recommend doing it 3 times, because you'll get 3 different measurements, shapes, and then you get a width and the length. I didn't go over that, but I believe it's on the website, the handouts. Yeah. Handouts are on the website for a mini hat and for the larger full-size hat. Give you a little more specifics on it. And Chris, I'll have to look up that website and I'll get that to you. Chris Ramsey put a website, I don't think it's under his name, but it's a bunch of tips, tutorials, directions, and everything. How to do hats, how to do those leg bowls. You've seen those leg bowls that Chris Ramsey does? He's got point by point how to do that.
When you turn a large hat, what size blade did you say you need, the radius on it?
Minimum 20.
Minimum 20.
And like I said, if it has to be bigger, you could just slide to, except on a one-way. But Chris turns all his on a one-way lathe.
Any other questions? All right. Excellent job, Steve. Guys, if you're turning wet wood, just, you don't think about it. You need to wipe that off often, and as soon as you're done, I'd spray it down with WD-40 or something to protect your lead from your bad blade. All right, we're gonna do show and